Right, go ahead. We're good. We're good.
We're good. We're good to go. Alrighty, people. I want to tell you a story. I have met Craig before in the gym, and there was this one day. Um, no, we'll not change it like that. We'll just sort of, guys. Today's show is really about a book that was introduced to me, and it's called The Chimp Paradox by Professor Steve Peters. Put it up on the screen for those on YouTube and stuff. I don't know if you can see that, but yeah, that's what it is. That's what it looks like. And I came across this script through a recommendation from a guy in the gym. Now, um, I was actually tidying up the gym. I was carrying a 20 kg dumbbell over to the dumbbell rack. Pissed off that people aren't following gym etiquette and just tidying up the gym. And so I had this bitch face. And so I got over to the free weights area, and there Craig was finishing off a set of shoulder presses. And as I put it back on the rack, he says, "Hey, what's up with you?" You know, I sort of took a step back and kind of noticed that I was in bad form. So we got talking then, and then he obviously then recommended the book. So I want to talk about this book with Craig and how simple it is to follow and understand. And then what we're going to do is kind of build that self-awareness of how you are acting or reacting in certain situations so that you can cope and manage stress, manage communication a lot better. So I'm going to introduce Craig, and he's going to talk about how he has got onto the book and how he came about knowing about the book and what he got out of it. So, Craig, say hello and introduce yourself, a wee bit about yourself, and then tell me how you got the book.
Hey, Seamus. Yeah. So myself, by trade, I'm an electrical engineer. I've travelled the world and decided not so long ago that traveling the world was too much for me, and I'm going to come home. So I came back to our lovely green pastures here in Northern Ireland, and this sort of links into where I met you. So back in training in DW Fitness and doing the Royal Shoulder Press, like you said, and
I think
spotted
you were on an extended rest break, maybe, but we'll just.
that is all that's all perspective. That, you know what I mean. I needed an extra 2 or 3 minutes with it
to talk to me.
yeah. So basically, spotted the fist coming across the gym. Usually happy man Seamus would be, but not today. A big monk on, not in press whatsoever. To carry that 20 kilogram dump or plate or that dumbbell and putting it back on. Obviously said to you, "What's up?" Oh, nothing. And then eventually I said, "Listen, I think you should pick up and read The Chimp Paradox by Steve Peters." And then that links into why I recommended it. I think traveling away from home, yeah, used to really like give me a little bit of separation anxiety. I loved my family, my support network here back in Northern Ireland, and when I used to travel, it used to torment myself. And someone recommended this book to me, so I picked it up. By the way, I was in Dubai at the time working. Started reading through the book, and whilst reading through the book, I started seeing myself within the book.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you start seeing yourself in it, you start delving into the mindset of processing and putting it step by step as to what you're actually thinking about at certain moments. Maybe leading the team or your personal relationships that you have. And I actually found solace within the book. It actually helped my period away, and I came back. And I'm screaming about this book to the rooftops, recommending it to everyone, sharing it on my Instagram. People were sick of me. And I was like, "Oh, fuck it, you know what? Maybe I'll stop sharing it now." And then a couple of years later, there's you, Seamus, dumbbell in hand, monk on. "Yeah, Seamus, what about that Chimp Paradox?" "I'll pick that up." And I'll be honest, when I did say it to you, I thought he's not fucking picking that up, not a hope in hell. And next minute, yeah, Craig, I've read that book. I really enjoyed it, and this is where we got today, discussing certain topics and on which bits actually ring true with us.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're not professionals in any
No.
way, shape, or form, but we certainly have perspective. Let's put it that
Yes.
way.
And that's what I like about land. I want to make sure it's just taking a normal person's perspective away from that and what you kind of learn from it and sort of put it into layman's terms, if anything. So, which nicely leads me on to the first sort of chapter and how Steve Peters breaks it down. You have the chimp brain, the human brain, and like the computer. Now the chimp brain is linked, it's the limbic brain. And we'll talk about what drives those and stuff throughout the conversation. The human brain is that frontal lobe. And then you have the computer, which is the parietal lobe. The first thing that it really struck me that everything goes through the chimp first, and all your thoughts and emotions and everything sort of goes through that. And depending on scenarios and things that you've been in, and how quick your computer can react and pick things from what you've done, and either it controls the chimp or it if it doesn't have that scenario, it can let the chimp go, and depends whether if it's the human can sort of come in there with you and sort of deal with things calmly and stuff. But the main
I
difference, go ahead there.
I was thinking there, Seamus. The chimp is 5 times stronger than the human, and it attempts to, as quickly as possible, from what I remember from the book,
Uh,
is tries to pluck past experiences that are stored within the computer. What part of the brain is that again? I forgot there what you said.
the computer's the parietal lobe.
Okay, so it tries to pick it as quickly as possible, but it's not that smart. Your chimp is like dumb as
Aye.
like shit, to the point of, from what I remember, is it will either pass it on to human if it doesn't perceive a threat, or if it perceives a
Yeah.
threat,
Yeah.
it's going to take control. What would you agree with
Yeah,
that?
yeah. True. Yeah. Sort of like the emotional traits would be like, for the champ would be like jumping to an opinion that um, that paranoid or some thinking maybe emotional, judgmental, or like thinking maybe irrational, which isn't all sort of bad either. For like survival, or if you thought like that instinct where there's a fucking tiger running after me, right, I'm going to have to move, or um, and then it goes into like the flight, fight, or freeze element of that emotion and stuff as well. So yeah,
Well, I would say, Seamus, like speaking from experiences, like I used to be very reactive.
yes,
I would let the chimp completely take over, um, in a way that I probably had never met the human before.
mm-hmm.
um, probably up until about 27, 28. Most of my reactions were based on a chimp standpoint. Um, Maybe again stemming from childhood, where growing up in a council estate, being that weak, skinny runt of the litter in such a rough environment that you live in, that you're always going to go. The champ's always sort of heightened for that threat, and then that learned behaviour over time sort of diminished. As me working away and actually not physically being in that environment anymore, the humans started coming out.
Mm.
But I could think many times where I've flashed to the point of, when I've actually processed it and calmed the chimp down and then think logically through the steps,
Yeah.
you go, do you know what? I was in the wrong there. I think I sort of maybe I should apologize now. But
Yeah,
then the whole ego starts taking over. You're like,
yeah.
don't show this twat. I'm sorry. Don't
Yeah,
say it. Don't say
yeah.
it.
And that's it. Like the human is that part where it's more logical thinking. It's finding the truth and like the facts in certain situations, and it takes a bigger person to kind of say, you know what, I was wrong. I've actually went away and I thought about that, and sorry. or whatever. But the human, it's more evidence based. It's rational, and it has better context, and like there's no sort of black or white with the human either.
Yeah.
There's a lot of gray area, and like as I say, we'll get into that kind of further on down the line whenever we're getting into communication and relationships and stuff, whenever you're trying to kind of, your narrative is going to be different from that my narrative,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But yeah, um very good points. And you said yourself, you sort of started off, everything was like a chimp, but did you
Yeah.
find yourself then, how long did it take for you to kind of change and use that human side of you to kind of calm the thing down? And
I think there was a period, I think up till about 27, where, you know, I didn't, I always forced myself to go through education. So, high school, college after, apprenticeships, I forced myself into the education, had no passion for it, no desire to do or to learn. But the only thing that I was striving for was, if I achieve this, I can get a job, I can get money.
yeah.
So at that young age, it was all to do with a financial incentive. So that was my extrinsic motivator for it. But then there was maybe a switch went in my head around about 27, where I had this longing or desire for education, for knowledge.
Yes.
Because, would you agree?
I relate, bro. Yes.
Right. So you're obviously the same, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know where it went or where it came from. Maybe you can explain where yours came from, but
Mm.
it was as if someone just went to guess in my head, you need to learn. And why do I need to learn? I used to have this narrative running through my head. Why do you need to learn? Because knowledge is power. Knowledge is key. The more you know, the more um, better and the more well placed you'll be in situations like having a debate with someone. And when I say debate, I don't mean an argument. I
Mm.
mean an intellectual conversation between two human beings
Yeah.
that aren't aggressive. And this links into like Steve Peters' point of saying that, the chimp. So you can either, to what, in a way, calm the chimp. To calm the chimp, you can
Yeah.
either express emotion, get it off your chest,
Yes. Yes.
right? Just say, do you know what? I, we've all must have been in these situations. You must have been where someone's really pissed you off,
Mm.
and if they've got your back up, right? They've really got your back up. You're ready to, I don't know. Like, I don't want to say fight. I don't want to say fight. I'm not. I don't like one
Tell them to
fighting
do their
yourself.
job.
Yeah, to do right. Okay,
Fucking do
so
your job.
right. Okay. Workplace. Right. Workplace and personal life are two separate things. The problem being is, when you're in work, no one's themselves ever. All right. Now you might be yourself,
Mm.
but they're all putting on a persona, a work persona. Whereas I always try and be myself, and
Mm.
then that's where there's always usually conflict, right? But to your fucking job. So you had to express it, but once you get it off your chest, to me, I would never have held on to it. If I get it off my chest, it's done. I'd never hold a grudge in on that person.
Mm.
That's gone. So that's how I used to calm that chimp. But yeah, linking back into the education. So 27, I just wanted to learn as much as I could, and then that links into you know being able to actively realize when I feel angry right now.
Yeah.
Why do I feel angry? And then the whole mindfulness and processing the thought, the feeling. Why did that person say that to me?
Mm-hmm.
Do they not like me? And then this links in later on about the trip, and then probably links into where I say, I don't really give a fuck if you like me.
Yeah.
So that's why I calm that part down in my head. But, but where the question for you, when can you remember where and what age it was when you got the click of, I want to learn, I want to learn more?
I think it was I would say about close to about 10 years ago, I would say. Maybe 9 years.
You're 39.
No, I never says I was 39. No. It's just about 9 years ago.
Right, right.
Um, so, and I think I was at a point I was working. I think I had left university and stuff, and I just felt like I was maybe I didn't know what I wanted to do, or I was, you know,
But can I say something just on that point? You know, no, if all your listeners, whoever's listening right now to your podcast, be it someone at 16 or someone at 45, 50, 60 onwards,
hmm,
you know, not knowing what you want to do is perfectly acceptable. All
hmm,
right. I'm 34 and I made a career change,
mm-hmm,
and I was at crossroads with three three ways to go. I either stayed in what I was doing, I went left with one job, or right with the other.
yeah,
And I picked the hardest option because I wanted to grow, and that links into where
yes,
you had that thirst for wanting
yes,
to learn. Like, just want to that your listeners know it's okay if you don't know what you want to do. Like,
yes, 100%.
anyway, so you left university.
I left university. I didn't complete the course. I just did 2 years, and I thought I just didn't want to be there. And so, again, started trying different things, different jobs, different career paths. Went down the care assistant route. Did
How was
PT
that?
and
How was the
care.
care
I
assistant?
loved it, man. Care assistant. Like I've actually did care work in America and stuff as well. Um,
What was the most rewarding bit of care working system?
sorry, what was
What was the most rewarding part of that job?
um seeing a kid who's maybe quadriplegic and still being able to smile,
Yeah,
and they're the happiest people in the world, and you have nothing to really complain about, you know um
perfect. Love that. That's too much in this society. People complaining about things that really don't matter in the
yeah.
grand scale of things.
Mm,
Considering this whole COVID plight that we find ourselves in at the minute,
yeah.
I think this could potentially enlighten people to
This
actually
this
gain a
this
bit of
can
perspective.
it can break or make somebody, something like this, the COVID, right? I
Yeah,
was off the phone yesterday to a girl who says, look, I'm in furlough. I've got an opportunity to do this course. What do you think? And I'm like, you grab that, you do that. Like, and you're still
100%.
young. You've got the rest of your life to
Yeah,
to make mistakes and learn and see if this is for you. So, and other people will be using this to not use that time wisely, to maybe feel sorry for themselves and feel sorry that they can't see their friends or get out and go to the cinema, and but why not learn something, read up a book or order something off Amazon, that you're when I learn something, maybe it's sewing or doesn't it can be anything. I started playing the guitar, do you know what I mean? It's learn a
what
new
what
skill.
what can you play?
I can't really. I play a few chords, like, but my aim is to play Wonderwall by Christmas.
That's the first tune. I listen. I am no guitarist, but that seems to be the go-to tune for learning how to play guitar. I think
So good.
is it three chords? I think it's
It's
three
four,
chords.
four, four
Four.
chords, and you keep two fingers on the one place the whole time. It's
Perfect.
it's
Perfect.
great. So,
So yes,
bringing it
sorry, go
back,
back.
I wanted to learn, and like I felt like I was behind nearly, and so listening then to Tony Robbins, listening then to um, Jim Rohn, and finding like Jesus, there's positivity out there, and just wanted to learn and grow my own mindset. I think you were sort of a lot of chimp. I think personally for myself, I was kind of more human. I kind of was thinking things very logically, and I was able to tick things and go away and think about different scenarios and stuff.
Question for you, Seamus. Were you, as when you were younger, were you quiet and more of an introvert?
Yeah,
And certain, yeah.
100%. Still am.
Well, yeah, but I think you're working on that.
Oh,
I think
like,
I think
oh, You
think
see
people,
me like 9 years ago, and you see and me now. I'm
yeah.
two different people. Like,
What? Listen, there's someone once said to me, a good friend of mine said that listening, like I can notice an observer, so someone that
yes,
sits and listens to everything that's said, and they're the people that scare me the most because I'm an extrovert. So the likes of yourself who would just let me ramble on, but just sit and just watch and listen. They scare me. But
wait,
they just not in a bad way scare me. I just know that he made point of you know there's a skill to listening. Many people have a conversation that they're waiting for you to shut up so I can talk. So I
mm,
look like I'm listening, but I'm not listening. I'm
right,
just waiting, I'm waiting for that point where you stop talking. But the likes of this, we have to actively listen to each other because I'm waiting for you to say something that I can ask the question about,
yeah,
and that's making me listen to you. So I have to learn, teach myself to listen
yeah,
because I love the sound of my own voice.
yeah,
But
right.
uh, so yeah, so you were a bit of an introvert then as a
uh,
younger child, and you had to
yes,
bring yourself out of your shell.
yeah, 100%. Um, so you made a point there, and I just let you ramble on and forget now what I was going to fucking say.
Hey, you need to stop me. Just stop. You gotta go slow. Hang on a minute, Craig.
uh,
Just getting on that point.
but if it comes back to me, it'll come back to me. So yes, the chimp, the human, and then the computer, which is adding into different scenarios and gaining a database of how do you react in certain situations, right? And but deep down within that, there was a section then they talked about where it was like the stone of life, and it's perfecting your stone of life, which basically is your values. And you asked me about this the other day, and I was kind of, and you can talk about it as well. But the truths of your life, and the truths of my life will be different from yours. So, I will say, like for work, I know exactly what I want to do and what I have to do, and I just get on and do it. Nobody has to say nothing to me. Well, if I'm there a few months or whatever, if I'm there 5 years, I know what to do. Now, somebody like yourself will come on. I'm not saying you actually, but I'm giving it a scenario. So another person comes in, he's at work 5 years and still needs to be told to do certain things, or you know, and it's like, but that's their narrative, and my narrative's different. That's an expectation that I have, and the book explains about not having those expectations, and it could be the same as a work relationship or a loved one relationship, could be a parent or sibling or whatever. So that was another real thing that I came across and I took some notes about what I wanted to get out
Well,
of that. But could you want to speak about how?
yeah, I'm going to link that into. I think it's a perfect time to speak about it. I'll start with because I don't let things go by like you, and don't forget, and then forget what I want to say, the point I want to make. Right, Seamus? So, uh, so, so the trip, all right. So he speaks about the trip moon, or in a way, how to choose the right support network for you as an individual.
Mm,
And then this links into probably what you said there about expectations. He says Steve Peters makes a point of saying, prominently mentions it 2 or 3 times, that you know be careful that you assign a role to someone within your trip that they aren't up to actually making those standards. If that makes
mm,
sense.
mm-hmm.
So if you assign someone subconsciously or consciously in your group as being the motivator of the group, and then one day that you just ain't feeling up to it, and you give that motivator a call, and they're like, "Listen, I can't be dealing with your shit today," and then you're like, "I can't. They don't care," or "Oh." Do you know what I mean? So
Yes.
that links into what you were saying there. People's expectations. Um, you do get a point, I think, Seamus, of morals. I read about morals recently and
Mm.
how your morals are set between the age. I think Steve Peters speaks about this freely in this book. He certainly does in another book that he's written. But your morals are set between the ages 0 and 7, and it's everything around you. So everything you absorb, your parents, the relationships you have with the kids around you, environment you grow up in, your school, your teachers' influence, all that kind of stuff. And then later on in life, you're 34 years of age like me, and you haven't read the Chimp Paradox at this point, and someone does something to you, and you get so angry, but you just don't understand why you're angry. You're angry because your morals have been questioned, or someone has done something that's putting you in conflict with yourself.
Yeah.
So you get your back up, but their morals are different than yours. Like
Yes.
you're pushing your expectations on someone else,
Yeah.
and that links into what you were saying. And I think that's where the communication, and it's like two freight trains coming together,
Yes.
and you're the one that's got their back up, and this freight train's stationary. You're coming full pelt. Do you know what I mean? But with good communication, that's where I think that can break down. He speaks about communication.
Mm.
Um, you know, I would say relationships, personal or work, you'll certainly come across people who go straight for the jugular and speak aggressively. So an aggressive communicator, all right? And I've been around them. However, personally, I've had to realize that, and he says this, Seamus, he says that, an aggressive communicator is full of emotion. There's nothing wrong with emotion at all. However, when someone's emotive or aggressive response is now emitting or evoking an emotional response within me,
Mm-hmm.
that's where I feel that I don't want to feel like this.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where, this is all choosing your trip and choosing your network. If someone brings me up to a point of this isn't who I want to be, me feeling like this, personally, I've cut ties. I've just went, you know what? You're not in my trip no more. I don't want you in my trip because you're pissing me off. I start turning into a person I don't want to be, and I just fuck them off. So, and then they're all thinking, why has he done this? Why is he not speaking to me anymore? Well, when they do ask me, I tell them the truth. I says, you bring me to a place where I don't want to be, so I can't be near you, around you. However, I don't mind you as a person. I just don't want to feel like that, and then I just fuck them off. But have you ever experienced that?
Um, I probably haven't done it the way you have, like tell to be quite fair. Um, but there's a rule somewhere. There's like a person you can be around for 3 seconds. There's a person you can be around for like 3 minutes, and then there's a person you can be around for like 3 hours. And you have to sort of, I don't. It's not in this book, but it's something that I came across, and it's kind of like whenever I was aware of maybe someone like that, I would obviously go away and think about that.
Mm-hmm.
And then if I came across that person, I would make sure to maybe not be rude in a way, but avoid a conversation by being, oh, well, I have this here to do. I was nice to see you. Have a nice day. You know,
So you're deflecting.
deflecting in a way, but I mean, I personally, at the end of the day, would they really even care if, do you know what I mean? And again, and that's my narrative thinking that, but um,
There were so many things I wanted to pick at there. I was like, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it.
but like I'm saying, like that's my thought on it. But I don't want to. It's not. I don't think it'd be in my personality to come across as rude.
Yeah.
And
But then is honesty rude?
well, it's not really. No, yeah, that's a good point.
Is the truth
But
is the
you
truth
could
rude?
say it in a rude way. If the chimp came in there and says like,
Yeah.
well, look, I don't want to speak to you. Fuck off. There's a nicer way to put it.
Oh, well, here, listen. No, I understand where you're coming from.
There's such
But
thing as
then,
manners, Craig. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Manners.
yeah, yeah. Well, listen, I think I've got good manners.
They're
But
all bad.
yeah, but you know, again, this would come into his whole the Planet Connect and Steve Peters' Planet Connect and how to communicate effectively.
Mm,
You know, going in and saying "fuck off," I don't want to speak to you. That's an emotive response, stroke assertive. But if you already, if you already premeditated this whole conversation in your head, you could remove emotion and then choose your words carefully, and that's the
yes.
assertive form of
Yes.
communication that
Yeah.
Steve talks about. So that's how Craig does it, Seamus. That's how
Yeah.
Craig does it. All right.
You do you, bro.
I I just don't tell people to fuck off.
No. There's like a, I want to just check my notes because there's a 15 step thing that he goes through to prepare for a significant conversation. I'm not going to go into that, but it's in the book if you want to go read it. But his rule of thumb is 1 in 5. For every 1 in 5, you'll get that one person that you know that you can relate to. Um, you know, not everybody's going to like what you have to say or agree with you, but I mean, as long as you're aware of that, then like you can make adaptations on how to communicate that, as you had said. The main thing that he had said is like, if you do want somebody to kind of work with you, invest in those people and invest time, get to know them rather than just tell them what to do, you know.
No, Seamus.
Build up people.
I read a piece on this recently, and I put it up, and it was more to do with, uh, you know, managers and leaders creating buy-in from their employees.
Mm,
Now, I can't remember if Steve says it, but I certainly did it in a previous job. Um, but you know, first impression is formed within 7 seconds. All right.
mm,
So me and you meeting each other for the first time, you thought, "Oh fuck, he can talk," but you know what? He can talk, but I actually want to listen to what he wants to say, and vice versa in regards to, you know, when I finally shut up and you had a chance to put a word in, it was an intellectual person speaking back to me in a conversation, not um, a one-way one.
mm.
But I spoke about it and creating buy-in. You know that you know if you know in a professional light, and even you can use it in your personal life as well. You know, if you afford respect, invest in people in regards to time, show them that you care about them. Um, you know, they're only going to
You
buy
build
into
rapport.
you as a person,
Yeah.
buy into you as a manager or a leader or a personal trainer in charge of the gym, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. 100%. You said the guiding moon there, didn't you? You sort of said that, or was it the guiding moon that you mentioned?
I spoke about
So
Planet
there's a
Connect.
couple of things before we kind
Treatment.
of get in, because you want to give you an example of like sort of we're in the health and fitness industry, so we'll kind of talk about kind of eating right now because a lot of people would like have that chippy or have that donut, right? And the example in the book, which is really really good, it was the human will say like, yeah, okay, one donut's fine. The chimp will say, will crave as many as it can until it's full, and then it'll go back, it'll leave the human to pick up all the guilt. So the human is like, oh fuck, why did I do that? Thinking about, so if anybody, it's kind of piecing together how, who's in charge whenever you are getting in scenarios like that. And that's what I want to talk about next, is kind of getting into the scenarios and behaviors so that you can recognize who is in charge. So that was one example that was in the book, which I found very, very good. Getting that emotional chimp, and the factors of they, and that's how they are successful, because they use that emotion, and I feel and I want, and I, you know, that donut makes you feel good, but it's the, it's the bloody human has to kind of look at it the realistic way. But I'm still 10 kilo overweight or whatever the case may be.
He,
Fuck, like,
he, yeah. Well, on that, yeah. So eating's one thing, you know, and I am not a nutritionist at all, nowhere near it. But you know, I'd have a Domino's, but I don't feel guilty after it.
Mm.
but I've trained my mind to not be like that. Whereas, 8 years ago, if I had that Domino's, I probably been like any person out there, the majority of people that have that guilt ridden, um, you know, the champs going, eat it, just eat that Domino's. Honestly, eat that, eat it up. It's good, it's good. Have an hour slice. What harm's it going to do? And then once that is digested, your body is full with these emotions of, oh, look at me, look at me, look at me. I can't believe it did that. I'm disgusting. What's
Wearing a
going on
pink
right
T-shirt for God's sake.
here? Listen, don't knock pink. Don't knock pink. But no, like, and then you have this overwhelming feeling that you're now fat or you're overweight based on that
Yeah,
one pizza.
yeah.
Like it's science. You'll know this better than me. It's scientific impossible to get fat off one pizza.
Yes, yes, yes.
You
100%.
need a consistent surplus of calories over a certain period of time
Yeah,
to actually gain weight.
yeah.
You know that, and I know that. But he also makes a point of, and I've done it. I don't think you'd do it based on your personality, but I've certainly done it. Driving in a car and someone cuts you up, or someone's going slow in front of you, and you're sitting behind, you're beeping the horn, you're like, fucking slow. What's going on? 40 mile an hour and a 60, 40 mile an hour and a 60, 40 drivers, 40 drivers. And then you go to overtake. And when you're overtaken, you look to your left to give the bird, give the wee finger, and it's an old granny. And then you put your head down and you're ashamed of that reaction. And then you spend probably 30 to 45 seconds after of the guilt. And that's the human now taking over. So the champ has done, the champ's just went, I got my emotive response out. I am perfectly fine right now. Do you know what? Passing it over to you, human, you can deal with the guilt and the shame and you can process it. And then you'll spend that 45 minutes or 45 seconds, sorry, a couple of minutes going, I can't believe I did that. Why did I do that? That's just wrong. But then you'll forget that feeling. And 4 days later, 40 driver again, you're behind going, fucking get out of the way,
Yeah,
get out of the
yeah.
way. And then you drive up the side, and it's a wee 17, 18-year-old boy or fella in the car, and you're proper giving the fingers because your champ going, actually, it's not wrong to give this 17-year-old a bit of shit, but
Because
it
he's
was
on
the
the
granny.
hours. He's on the
Huh?
flipping hours. He's got the hour plates up.
I know. And they get off the road. Do you know what I mean? Give it a big licks. No guilt there. No guilt there. But that it links into
I could say I've never done that. I've never given anybody the fingers, sir.
never
For no.
for legal reasons. I've never done it. But I know a few that may have done it. Certainly not me. But yeah, that certainly, Seamus, that links into the food too. Like food's a taboo. Food's a taboo. Food's one thing, but I don't know, where do you stand on social media in regards to the likes of influencers, celebrities,
I would
photoshopping.
say to people, do the research on the people. Like it's very easy to get well, it's not easy, but I mean, you need to have do your work to get your social following and stuff. But I mean, it's very easy once you have that to sell yourself to a company and sell something, because it's obviously the money side of it.
Yeah.
But I would research the people who you're kind of looking into. I would actually name a few people that I would highly recommend to, if you're looking at nutrition. Guy does research, Alan Argon. Look him up. Like, he has his own research, and he does it into all the bro science, and like, is fasted cardio the best way? And he's like, no, it's not. It's like, you do your cardio whenever you do it. Fasted will not speed up the process, and all the wee um things like that, like all that bro science, and as BCA is good as nutrition timing and all good. And it's like, no, it's like, you can have 3 meals a day, you can have 5 meals a day, it doesn't really matter. Now, if you're going on to athletic performance and sport performance, again, it's all with a pinch of salt, and it's relative to what you're actually talking about when it comes to nutrition and stuff as well. Because you
Mm-hmm.
have the everyday person who's maybe stacking shelves and Sainsbury's, or you have that person who is an athlete and training 3 times a day, or whatever the case may be. So be specific and stuff. But yeah, he gets a
What
lot of
about
good information.
Seamus? I understand you'll have sports athletes, nutritionists that you would highly recommend, but if you're linking back into the shame or the guilt where your champ passes the emotive response now to the human to deal with the guilt of
Yeah.
consuming that burger, that whatever. Do you think? I know I have my opinion, but I want to see what yours is. Do you think that in a way the sort of misconstrued or pushing out of these absolutely male and female um, body images that are so tight, toned, ripped, and everyone is, and it's not the human, it's the chimp.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
comparing their self to them. So, do you think with the massive influx of social media and if you look at social media now, anyway, in my opinion, it's all to do with body image and how you look,
In a
how you
way, yeah.
dress.
Body image, it comes across as that, but I would say, if here it might be a point, the people who are posting the body image and all that social media content, the people who are doing maybe say heavy Olympic weightlifting, I don't know, it's probably the amount of social media being done by the people who are ripped to shreds and stuff, as you say, are probably doing more than the actual people who maybe are doing stuff like the Olympic weightlifting or strongman or whatever. The social media content, maybe they're better at marketing. I don't know.
Mm. Yeah.
It could be a scenario like that. I'll not like. You have to have a lot of respect for somebody who can maintain and get into that shape. Like, I wouldn't dog them. I mean, it's not for me because I know what you have to do to get to that, and I want to enjoy just being able to move good and be
Yeah.
healthy and strong.
Yeah.
So it's down to that individual, and a lot of people, I think they need to get the individuals themselves need to get out of comparing themselves rather than
Yes. That was the point I was trying to make.
blaming the social media.
Yeah. I'm not saying that, you know, I'm not, and there's no way I'm bagging on any individual or
No, no,
certain
I,
social
I
media.
know that's
What
not.
I'm trying to say is, do you think that because the marketing of these individuals is so high and so out there all the time, and those people that are self-conscious about body image, about themselves, low self-esteem, and the champ is literally sitting on their shoulder, just
Yeah,
ready to react,
yeah,
and subconsciously they're just going through social media all
yeah.
day, and then they have that burger at night, and then the champ now reacts and goes, them people you looked at today on social media, you're never gonna look like that if you keep eating burgers. Uh, and then the human then deals with the guilt after. So what I'm saying is, do you think because it's now a massive platform, and certainly for physique and bodybuilding and stuff like that, there, which is great, that's okay.
Hmm.
But do you think now the average man like myself would hasn't got, not me actually in person, but the average person that doesn't have great self-esteem, just looking at that
You're
and
looking
then
in the wrong
eating.
places. You're looking in
Yep,
the wrong places.
exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
100%. Definitely looking in the wrong places. You're looking outward. You're not looking inward, and you have to
Yes,
start.
yes,
You have to start at the where you're at. That it talks about realms in this here as well. Kind of further on in the health and success and happiness is part 3 of this book, but it talks about the realms, and I've got it written down. You're kind of pushing me on to kind of go ahead of myself here, Craig, but we were coming to this. Yeah, you start with where you're at and what you have rather than where you want to be and how far you have to go. And I think it's
you
how
talk
do
about
you
like
teach that, and how do you.
that'd be like I was listening to a book today, and it was David Goggins
David
can't hurt me.
Goggins,
David
yeah,
Goggins, sorry,
such a
David
good book.
Goggins can't hurt me. And he mentioned about, so point A, point A, point B.
Yeah,
This is the goal. All
yeah,
right. He says it's too big of a gap to try and comprehend. So he
yeah,
mentions breaking it down into small goals per week,
yeah,
and then you'll finally have achieved your main goal, which is B.
yeah.
That links into what you were saying there. If you can't perceive the short term
Mm,
in the here and now, instead of looking like 6 months down the line. So personally, I'm working on stuff with myself at the minute, and I've set short term goals. So I want to
mm,
achieve this week, this next week, and then by the end of the month, I want to have this achieved. And if I do that over a 6 month period, I'll have achieved everything I want to achieve in 6 months.
yeah.
So that's what you're trying to
Breaking
say,
it
isn't it?
down, bro. Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, like to help people, like I was saying, it's guiding. The guiding moon is the name of the chapter, but it's like recognizing who's in charge. And I've taken this one paragraph from that there chapter. I think it's chapter 3, and this is what it is. It says, whenever you have feelings, thoughts, and behaviors that you do not want or welcome, then you are being hijacked by your chimp. So having that one donut or whatever is fine, but if you have a whole box like you do, you get like 6 for 90p in Tesco's, and you have 6 and you feel really bad after it, then
Mm-hmm.
you've just been hijacked. So it's if you start to be aware of that, then you're going to heighten the control that you have to make those choices. I guess so. That's and it just takes that one wee step. Just do it the once, and you find, well, it's not so bad. Like, do you know what I mean? So you kind of build on it. But it was really important. I wanted to get that point across for people to kind of realize who is in charge. And again, that can come down to a conversation. It's not just choosing food or nutrition things, or if like your exercise or whatever. Like it's across the board. But I would kind of, again, because you overtook me, we went off on another tangent. But I'm only joking.
This podcast is not linear. It's
It's
not linear.
no. Um, so yes, programming the computer to kind of take charge of scenarios and stuff. It can think automatically, but you need to program it with your thoughts and behavior. So going away and thinking about what happened, putting yourself, maybe visualizing that scenario again and what you would do. It could be, I'm thinking of like work. If the fire alarm goes off, holy shit, what the hell? There's panic, there's everything going on. But if there was, that's why we do the training. So we know exactly what we do. We know, what are you going to say?
I got one for you. Fire alarm. Fire alarm. You ready for this?
Yes.
Fire alarm test every Wednesday, same time. Right? Every Wednesday, same time. Fire alarm goes off. Everyone in the room, you ready?
Yo.
Look at me. Look at me.
Yes.
Everyone in the room. Everyone in the room. What day is it? What day is it? First reaction. What day is it? There's the computer. It's a Wednesday. It's a drill. It's a drill. It's a drill. Every time. What day is it? It's a Wednesday. Oh, it's a drill. It's all right. Every time. There's the computer. There's the computer program. There's the
Yes.
computer program.
That's good. There is flaws then as well. You know,
Because if that wasn't an alarm, we'd
100%.
be in that building. Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. I know. I know. I know.
The computer is a storage for all those behaviors, all those beliefs and scenarios like that as well. So, the computer is more powerful than the chimp as well, and the human. Um, as a reference point, it can be 20 times faster than the chimp. And the actual frontal lobe is actually the slowest. The chimp is 5 times faster than the actual human.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we can kind of build those scenarios in the storage of the computer, we can actually uh, adapt and perform better, obviously. So, who are you? This was a section, and it's just write a list of the things that you would like to be. And and
I think you've
this,
written.
so
I
this
think you've.
this eh
I think you've written down what I've written there.
this then is who you really are. If you want to be happy, cheerful, if you want to be physically strong, or that's who, anything outside of that is you're being hijacked by the champ. So if you want to be a long distance runner and you're not out running, well then, and you're coming up with reasons why not to run, then you're obviously,
Mhm.
being hijacked.
Yeah,
So
I
this
wrote.
is,
I wrote down a few. I wrote down a few phrases that the chump would come out with when hijacking you. You ready for this?
go for it.
Right. So, just any scenario you want to think of. Um, so you start a new job and you're on a 6 month probation. You're going for a new job. You're going, and every job has a 6 month probation, right? So you've got a steady job at home or in your workplace, and you're
Mm,
thinking, you know what, I've got a good income coming in. I'm going to apply for that job elsewhere, which is the next step up. All right. So you go for your interview, and you have your interview, and you smash it. They offer you the job, a 6 grand pay rise, more responsibility, more growth, more learning, putting you in stretch, everything you always wanted. But there's this little chump in the back of your head going, well, what if I lose this job before the 6 months? And how am I going to pay my mortgage? Then you get scared. Then you get afraid.
mm,
Then you turn the job down and you're stuck in the same job day in, day out because of that chimp going, but what if?
yeah.
And then the second one was just linking on that. You're a long distance runner, like you said,
Mm,
but I feel tired today. I don't think I can do it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I feel
Yeah.
bullshit. If you had a
Yep.
good enough sleep
Yep.
and you have enough food in your body, you're not tired, big man. Get on the road and get it run.
Yeah.
Honestly, I've ran a couple of marathons myself. They're horrible. I will never be doing one again. I've put it out there before. I'm putting it out
Yeah.
there again. It's too stressing on my wee skinny ankles, and I can't do it anymore. So no, no, never again. However, I've achieved my goal. That's it. Done. The champ is calm. The human is calm. All good.
Right. You still run. You still do the odd 5K and stuff. You run like, yeah.
I but I run 5Ks because someone nominates me, and I run a 10K because someone nominates me. But
I
but
just
I'd
want
rather
to go ahead.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
Um, just before it gives out of my mind there, you mentioned about this chimp with having this fear about losing the job and stuff. Now,
Mhm.
this is linking into another book that we could probably talk about, but it's Ant Middleton. I don't know if you're watching SAS, Celebrity SAS, but he's the wee small guy with a beard, and they really just will tell you to fucking give me your
You
armband.
you're very brave, Seamus, calling him small.
Oh, he says it himself. He's not the biggest. Like he's not the biggest, but he's built, but he's not tall. Sorry, tall. He's not
He's not the
small, right?
tallest.
Tall,
Not the
tall.
tallest.
Let's be specific there.
Okay.
But his book is called The Fear Bubble, and
Right.
so that's your champus being hijacked there. So what he says, look, this is the interview, this is the job. Okay, the job's over there. Nothing's happened yet. Nothing's. So why am I afraid? I'll be afraid whenever I get to the job. You
Mm-hmm.
know, so
Yeah.
the fear's over there. So that's why he kind of copes and calms his chimp is just basically right, catch yourself on. The fear's over there. Like what happened to him, he was climbing Mount Everest. He got past this part of stage in the mountain, and where they were 15 minutes earlier, there was a landslide, or not a landslide, like an avalanche. And the other guy he was climbing with says, "Jesus, that could have been us." And he turns to him and says, "Yep, but it wasn't. We're here, so let's go on." Do you know? Like he
Yeah.
was in his fear bubble. The fear bubble was down there, so that was
Yeah.
his example.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
I think on that, I think that the champ, like, dreams up. all the worst case
Yes.
scenarios that could ever happen.
Yes.
And that's where Steve Peters talks about this, about your gremlins.
Yes.
The gremlins, you know, to me, the Chimp's one thing, but gremlins are so, to me, personal experience, gremlins were so powerful. Literally, they would hijack my head and
Yeah.
completely spiral out of control
Yeah.
to the point of, you would, let's say, wake up first thing in the morning. The first thing you think about is the thing you went to sleep that night thinking about.
Yeah.
So and then Steve Queers talks about then reprogramming the computer to develop autopilots, and then
Mm,
that's when then you will draw from the computer quicker than you will draw from, or the chimp has time to react.
100%. 100%. And some of the the things the gremlin says is like, life is really tough and life has always been tough, or I'm a victim of circumstance, or there's nothing I can do, I can't do anything about it, or
Yeah.
that's the things that the gremlins all start pinning on you.
But where does this victim mentality come from? I know that I know it's a different book again. We will more than likely visit this book in the future, but Mark Manson read a book called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, and
Yeah.
talks like very, very descriptively about the victim mentality and how
Mm,
I think I probably came to that point at 27, 28, and that's where the whole learning thing came about, where I took responsibility, even though I might not had the majority of it and playing out the scenarios that happened to me between the ages, whatever I was born in 27. But you have to take responsibility for everything that went wrong in your life,
mm.
regardless if it was someone else's action, but you had a part to play in that. And this links into what you said there about victims and, you know, uh, I've always got a bad back, or, uh, you know, every
I think
girlfriend
I
ever.
think I think in a sense that we're conditioned. Maybe I don't know if it's consciously or unconsciously, but you watch the news, it's all negative, it's all shootings, it's all, and
Yeah.
then I don't know if I don't know if it's okay done uh intentionally, but like growing up as well, I mean, you hear about, oh, wild bad day today, isn't it? And it's like, I whenever I hear somebody say that, I says, well, no, it's not really a bad day. Like, it might be raining, but it's bad
Yeah.
weather, but it's not a bad
the,
day.
the choice of words. Is that what you're
Yes.
saying?
Yes.
Does Steve Peters not make mention in the book about utilizing the word hate? He talks about the word hate. Um, he says that utilizing the word hate actually emits, or actually internally um, pulls out an emotive response in using the word hate. He says hate's one of the strongest words you could use
Yeah.
because you actually feel it. Whereas if you say, I don't really like that person, that's not a strong word.
No,
But if you
no,
go,
no, no.
I hate that person,
Yeah, yeah.
you actually, feel it. But
The
I don't know
specific.
the
Aye.
specific the words, and that's what you're going
Sure.
on there.
And then I'll give you another example, right? I laughed whenever I heard this one. This was on a podcast on Barbell Shrugged, and it was all about like these athletes being in like their relationships and how they worked as husband and wife and stuff. And one of
Yeah,
the guys was his wife asked him to, can you stack the dishwasher? Can you do that for me? After this, no problem. Aye, no problem. Rinsed it off, whatever, and stacked the dishwasher, and goes off and does whatever he does. And she comes up and she's flipping furious with him. She says, I told you to stack it up. He says, I did stack it up. What are you talking about? She says, you never turned it on. You never put the wash on the dishwasher. And she's all,
you didn't tell
fuck,
me to.
well, you didn't tell me to. But it's like how that was what she meant, and
Yeah,
how he perceived it, and the specifics of that.
yeah,
How
yeah.
arguments can be done away with
Jordan,
being so
Jordan,
specific.
Jordan Peterson talks about that. Um, to be honest, the way he talks about it, it's very. It sounds like he's manipulating the person, but he isn't. he's making a point here, especially in relationships at home. In a way, it can happen, or in work life too. But he talks about if he makes a point of um, when he come home from work. It's not him. He talks about a generic person. Comes home from work, and the wife never greets him at the door. Never shows him, baby, it's good you're
Mm-hmm.
home, that kind of thing. So it's
Mm-hmm.
starting to rile the person up. So the person has a few options on how to respond to that. Live with it, accept it, all right? Accept it for what it is, and it'll
Yes.
eat them alive for the rest of their life. And
Yeah.
the wee chimp in the back of their head will be going, she doesn't really love me, does she? She doesn't really love me, does she? She doesn't really love me, does she? Or you find the compromise. Now, again, I wrote a wee piece on this, acceptance and compromise. If you're going to accept it, then you may fucking put it up for the rest of your life because it's not going to change.
Mm.
Or you compromise. Now, his way of compromising was, he says, the specific individual says to his wife, he says, "Listen, babe, I just want to let you know." He says, "When I come home from work, I would really love if you greeted me at the door. I get a bad day at work nearly every day, and just you showing that you love me, that little hug at the door every day I come in would make my life so much easier." She goes, "Yeah, babe, I'll do that for you." Right now, Jordan Peterson says she's going to do it for 2 days and then she's never going to do it again.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, this could be turned the other way. This could be female coming home
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
work
Yeah. Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
male getting it right. Don't want to
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
biased here. But he says the way you do it is the way he told the individual was when she greets you the first day, reward her. Reward. All right. So something as simple that no, it's so manipulative, but it works. A simple reward of saying, "Babe, really thank you for that hug. That really helped me today." So now the individual then goes, "I'm going to hug him tomorrow," and then you hug tomorrow, another wee reward, and then a bunch of flowers a month later, and then after, I think he says something like, if it's repeated for 6 weeks straight, it's now learned behavior, and then the individual then will actually, change that way of, how that relationship goes. And I think there's many relationships out there where we don't physically communicate with each other.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I would say my past experiences and I is, the first 6 to 9 months of moving in with a partner is vile. Like, it's my opinion. There's so many conflicts, there's so many crashes and bangs and smashes, and I don't mean physically, I mean mentally. Of,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay, I hate it when she throws the towel on the floor and she never picks it up. Oh, it's winding me up. Chimp, chimp straight away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Chimp.
Yeah. It's
But
being
I
aware
think,
of this.
exactly, and I think that's where the communication comes in.
Mm.
Communicating with someone and finding a compromise has to be. If you just come out and read it, that would make my life so much easier. I won't I won't get angry.
Yeah.
But again, that links into Steve Peters and his communication and how do you communicate effectively.
Yes.
Take the emotion out of it. Be
Yes.
assertive. Remove emotion and choose your words carefully.
Mm-hmm.
That's certainly what I would do anyway.
Yeah. 100%. Um, the just finally, just to take a wee back step again and talk about the type of mindset. There was two things. There's different types of mindset, right? And like that victim one is in the Chimp Paradox, he talks about it as the Snow White one. She's innocent, she's passive, she's a victim at the hands of others and the circumstances, completely devoid of any responsibility or accountability, and has no power to change things. So that's a Snow White one. And then you have complete opposite. You have the alpha dog with varying degrees. He's being a dictator, a lot of control, like a control freak, and genuinely believes that his way is the best. And is able to make the best decisions and moving forward, and is like will chew up the pack using aggression to prove and use their position. Their power is respected and feared. Now, accepting their ways does not mean to like kind of roll over either. It means learning not to take them as a personal attack and understanding that they're very unlikely to change. Being assertive and avoiding confrontation, staying at peace within yourself, and recognizing when is the time that you need to kind of move on. That's only two that they've mentioned. There is other ones, other types of mindset, but I just wanted to cover that because we had talked about it there briefly, about that victim mindset and stuff. So that's something to kind of delve into more if people wanted to. But you were talking about the communication and meeting others and understanding others, and we're all talking about having realistic expectations, and the key is to have none. Absolutely none, if you want to have a happy life. It may be to the point where, oh, do you know what, I'm coming home now, Jesus, she's in, fuck, I think I would love it if she would have lunch ready for me whenever I get back in. And you get in and they may have made lunch, but it's just for themselves, not you. And it's like, well, fuck, I was really looking for it. And then you get hyped up, but it's not really the end of the world. Get on with it. Make yourself your own lunch or whatever. That's just an example of, having expectations,
Yeah.
or whatever. You can get yourself so hyped up, and then if it doesn't happen, from that high expectation, you're just going to annoy yourself so much.
But that link into, maybe I'm jumping the gun here, but I think you mentioned the other day to me, I know it's stress related, but I certainly think it could be related in that anyway, the mushroom syndrome.
Yes, that is another one. 100%. Yes, those ones they're really good. There's 3 different types or something, I think, in the book, isn't there?
I'm not be saying about the mushroom syndrome, and I had a wee read of it, and I think that's where, again, we're no mental health experts at all. Just putting that out there for everyone to hear, but
Yeah.
you know, a little bit of mindfulness at times could certainly help this. But from what I read in the mushroom syndrome, you probably read it a wee bit more than me, but it talks about a field full of mushrooms, and mushrooms strive for the space, and the biggest mushroom will hold the biggest space. So if you pick that big mushroom, the next biggest will now consume
That's
the
space.
rest of that space.
Yeah.
Basically, it's just talking about once you have one worry
Yeah.
dismissed, you'll just replace it with another one.
Yes.
And I think that's where you link into the anxiety bubble. I think you
Yes. The
mentioned
fear
it.
bubble. Yeah.
Yeah, the fear bubble and the anxiety, and it's so hard. I would say it's so hard to get out of it. I myself, I would say 6 years ago would have been a quite anxious person about things that were silly, niff naff and trivia. And this is where I think you would link into what you said there about uh, the victim mentality,
Yeah.
or I know Mark Manson talks about subtle art of or no fucks to give at all,
Yeah.
but everyone gives a fuck about something.
Yeah.
I would call it having selective cares.
Mm.
So what do I physically care about? All right. So you go, I care about job security, a roof over my head, food in the fridge, and that's it. Now, to me, that is your needs. All right, your needs.
Mm.
Right, and I spoke about this recently too, about needs and wants.
Mm.
You know, all you need to do is survive. That's all you need to do. That's human instinct, survival. Um, you know, so again, like I'm back to the anxiety thing and the no care. I just got to a point of, I just put down and they like pigeonholed what am I worried about right now? A, B, C, D, and E. Right. So if I remove A for now, B replace A.
Mm-hmm.
There's the mushroom syndrome coming out.
Yeah.
And then I remove B, C drops in, and so on and so forth. And then once E's in that position, A
Mm.
is now a worry again. So that just repeats itself, and it goes
Yeah.
round and round. There's the fear bubble. I just categorized them all, went right. A, B, C, D, and E don't mean jack shit to me anymore. So just dismiss them. No more. Don't care. I only care about the things that really matter in life.
Yeah.
And that's basically what I did to get through that. If that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
what did you take from the mushroom syndrome? If you took anything at
It
all?
was actually the fact that it was dealing with like stress, because you have that instant stress, and then the syndrome is like that chronic stress,
Mm-hmm.
and like it delves more into kind of like mental health and kind of stuff like that. And I guess there's different levels of it too. So I'm not kind of good to talk about it myself or whatever. Just sort of talk about what I know from the book, but that it's destructive. And he also gives an example of a scenario, say like in the mushroom syndrome, right? So how do you catch a monkey, right? So what he says is you put a stone in the vase, which can only go in one way. So it can only fit in the bottleneck. So if you want to catch the monkey, you put the stone in, he'll grab, and because his hands are around the stone, he'll grab the stone and he can't pull it out. But because he wants the stone, which
Can let
has
go.
no value to him, he
Can not
won't
let
let
go.
go. You've got the monkey. So it's knowing what has value, and you listed yours out there, and
Mm-hmm.
you got rid of what had no value to you. So that was a good analogy that came across in the book as well. So um, very good um, understanding of it then, you know, and what you could do to kind of move on. Um,
Yeah.
there was that um, diffusion stress as well, and he talks about the AMP or AMP, which is just, it could be, whenever I was reading this here part, I was thinking about maybe a death or something, right? So you accept it. Bottling up emotions is not going to do you any good. Just deal with it. If you need to cry, fucking cry or whatever. um, just
Can I, can
holding
I
it.
can, can I give something on the whole crying thing there? I can remember, years ago, my poor wee granny passing away. And no, serious. This is all seriousness here. And for some reason, I don't know whether it's the eldest child effect or something, where I just went into a state of be strong, all right, be
Yeah, yeah,
strong. So I went through the whole strong phase. Now I've had a good relationship with when it comes to death and grieving and acceptance and just celebrating their life. Not the fact they're not there anymore. It's not about me. It's about remembering, to me, in a way, how I deal with it is remembering how great they were when they were alive. That's how I deal with it.
mm.
But I remember when my granny passed away, I was strong and strong and strong until one point. And this was, and I think this is the whole bit of suppressed emotions and how you should deal with it as soon as possible. Don't hold it. Don't hold it. In my opinion,
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
I'm not a professional.
yeah.
See the moment I was sadly lowering my poor granny into her grave. Both. It was final then. It was final. It was as if the realization hit me. And that's when the emotions came out. That's when
All
I
right.
came out. So if anything I learned from that is to process it quicker. All right. So actually take time away during that phase you're being strong, process what has just happened to you. If it's
Mm.
death, if it's losing a job, losing a boyfriend, losing a girlfriend,
Yeah, yeah,
process it as quickly as possible.
yeah.
Put in the bits, realizations of the truths, the facts, and I think he speaks about that in
Mm.
the book about this is how you can help your human side. He says to box your chimp, use truth and logic. So I think if you take yourself aside and you process it and think about truths and logic, I think it certainly could help with emotions. I personally have learned from that.
Yeah.
I don't know about you.
I think that even the death situation is a good example of that. I think a lot of people can relate. But if you don't deal with it, if you don't accept it, it'll come back to haunt you. Like so, well,
Yeah,
and
every down the
then
line.
yeah, yeah, like as you said, like you had that example where you, but after acceptance, kind of move on. All right, so if you were to stay where you are, you can actually keep that problem and not deal with it. I know of an example where there may be somebody talking about they've lost a loved one, and this maybe 2-3 years ago, and they still talk about it on social media, and they're not moving on from it. So that maybe they haven't even accepted it or whatever, but you need to accept it, you need to move on. And then the last part would be like a plan. So that probably the most critical point, and maybe dealing with triggers. If you are feeling emotional, what you do whenever you do feel sad or whatever. So that would be the 3 steps of diffusing like the stress: accept it, move on, and then the plan. How do you address how you are, or how do you alter your emotions, as well as the practical, how do you deal with those with practical issues and stuff. So there is good coping mechanisms there, and that's sound advice in my opinion, as well.
No, I would agree there. I would certainly agree.
And if it comes back to start with where you are and what you've got, and then kind of move forward from there. But the main point that there is here is that if you hold on to an expectation or anything in your life, if you think something's going to remain constant, then you're probably going to have a very stressful life. Nothing remains constant. There's always going to be, there's constant, like, change is always going to be there. Yeah. So I thought that was another very good point that he made with dealing with the stresses and stuff. But yeah, like that would be kind of like that more chronic side. Like there is that instant stress, and that stress can be healthy. Like as I said before, where you're kind of getting hunted down by a tiger, or what the fuck you do, you have that release of adrenaline, and you kind of move and you run. You'll be able to run faster than you ever have, as well. So
I did a mindfulness seminar probably about 3 months ago, and they spoke about that stressor, that instant stress, and how it actually is, in a way, how human nature. You need that in your life.
Yes.
But it's when it gets chronic, you need to maybe see someone. But mindfulness, there's plenty of courses out there, and listen, I must, if possible, push it as much as I can. That if you see any courses out there of mindfulness, go and get yourself sat in that chair. Most of them are free, all run by the NHS and stuff, to help you deal with stress that we're speaking about now. Yes, the book is one thing, but there is
is there a website or something that the
do you know what, I'll find the website and ping it to you, and you can obviously link it in, if you can, to the podcast
in the description down below.
In the description down below. I've never had to do this before.
No.
But yeah, instant stress. But what do you think here to support networks?
Support networks.
Your trip, as he calls them.
Your trip. For me, like, I don't know what it was for me. I mean, maybe it was being let down by people maybe before, and it could have been something as simple as, oh, I'll do something for you, and then they don't end up doing it. And I kind of learned that you can't really rely on people. So trips for me would be very, very, maybe 2-3 people. Like I don't really need a lot of people.
No,
in my opinion. I just kind of get on with it myself. But some people do need it, and I see a lot of people like needing that grip, or needing that. I don't know what it is.
Well, from what he says, and it rings so many trips. Not with me, but I've seen it. The
Chimp, isn't it?
Yeah, the Chimp strongly wants to find a group.
That's right.
And then establish itself in that group in some kind of hierarchy, and it wants to belong. But the problem is with that is and I've seen it through many people. Maybe they get into the wrong trip wherever they live,
Oh,
and
true.
then and they start doing things that
Mm,
their morals say not to do. So they start physically compromising their lifestyle, the morals, and their lives just to
mm,
belong on that trip. You know, and then later in the life, maybe 30 years of age, and then they start realizing they get married, and then I think he says this, Steve. He says your morals don't change unless um, a quite significant event happens in your life. So you have a child, you have now different responsibilities. There's a death in the family, all that kind of stuff. But there's too many people that feel like they have to be something different just to belong in a group.
yeah. I think
Where
that's what it was with gangs, isn't it? Like the way the gangs work, they come up, they don't have a father figure or something like that, and then they join a gang, and then they're
yeah,
like they've got this level of acceptance.
yeah.
Um,
But here links that in then too. You know, the trip drive. So the drive is the trip, and this is where the gremlins come in. Where I've seen this so many times, where people bend over backwards for people on their trip or people in their family because they feel like they have to please everyone.
uh,
Everyone have to please them, and they're sacrificing their own health, as in they're tired. They can't. And
mhm.
I would get frustrated where I would say to these individuals, why are you fucking doing that? Like they wouldn't do it for you. But see the word but. I hate the word but. The word but. But's an excuse. I don't
However,
want to hear. I don't want to hear the but. If you use however or furthermore, I would respect you more.
I don't think there are many people in Derry would say that.
See
However,
the
sir.
see the amount of times I used two of those words in my dissertation was ridiculous. Like,
um,
or the whole I must not fail in their trip.
yeah. And do you reckon that's just within the trip because there's kind of like maybe doing something for someone, maybe just out of just being kind, not looking for anything kind of in return, but maybe someone taking advantage of it. But you're just that maybe, and then there is people maybe happy to do it, and then
Yeah,
maybe you're picking it up and wrong and kind of saying, do you know what? Well, that's maybe you wouldn't accept how that person's treating that other person. And you
yeah,
just
yeah,
they have to be aware of where they are and their stunning life and their values and what
yeah.
um maybe
Would you
that
not love
maybe that person, that's what gives them purpose,
purpose?
doing that for that person, or
Yeah,
maybe that gives them a sense of I did something good today, or
yeah.
you know.
Well, you do get people in that are always giving, and you know, but they're getting something out of it. If that makes sense. So
Yes.
they're feeling satisfied in regards to, um, that feeling of I've made that person happy. So no, I'm happy,
Yeah.
but I'm hardwired different, and I think that's where the whole, you know, my frustrations will come out because I don't ever feel the need to please anyone.
No.
Um, if personally, I don't know about you, I be Craig. That's all I can be in life. You get one life,
Yeah.
one life.
Yeah. Yeah.
I seen a quote the other day. I loved it. It says, "I'd rather die not being loved for being who I am than um, being loved for something I'm not."
Yeah.
I just hope anyone listening to this now that hears those words and actually starts thinking, you know what, I am being fake around my friends. That isn't who I am. Maybe I should question being friends with them in the first place
Mm,
because
mm.
why should I feel I have to be something different? Um, just take, I would, to me, if you're listening, is to take note of the words and listen to it and process it and go, do I actually feel 100% comfortable around that friend or that friend to the point of I can't actually express how I feel?
Mm.
Um, you know, I want my trip to question me, to not agree with me when they don't agree with me,
Yeah.
because they call me on my bullshit. That's what I want my trip to do. And I've got now such a small knit network, just like you, and it's nothing to do with trust or um, not trusting people in the past. Mine's to do with I want to grow as an individual, so I surround myself with like mindseted people, because I would challenge them, but I want them to challenge me
Yeah.
in an intellectual way. And
Mm.
if I do wrong, they tell me you're doing wrong. And no one's striving to be top of the hierarchy. There is a hierarchy, in all statuses, all across the world, no matter where you are, work, society. None of my trip want to be up the top. None of us want to, and I think that's why there's no conflict. There is conflict, but it's good, healthy conflict. That's
Mm.
that's the trip I keep myself on. I just
Mm.
hope people out there that are listening today actually take note of the trip they're in and go, do you know what?
Mm.
Maybe this isn't for me, but
Yeah.
that's obviously their prerogative.
That's a big part for you. Like, you've mentioned that a couple of times. Like the
Oh,
actual.
I can't stress it enough. But it's not me being unconsciously biased. This isn't me from childhood. This is me over the past 4, 5, 6 years of realizing pigeonholing again. Like the things that are important in life,
Mm.
and once I have established what is important, I'll try and grasp or finalize or fully establish what I need in my life to
Mm.
push on. I don't know about you, like, because you have aspirations, you have goals, Seamus.
Mm.
You surround yourself with that right type of people to push you further.
I do in a way, but no. Well, see, to be honest, no. The way I am, a man.
Self-driven.
I more myself. If I work a lot better. If I don't know why, but there's times that I've told people that I'll say I'm going to do something and I never did it. And there's times that I've just said to myself, right, this is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to tell nobody. I'm just going to fucking do it. And I've actually accomplished it. I've
Yeah.
noticed that a couple of times in certain things that I've done, and I don't know why. I don't know.
This is where your boy, is it, what was his name again? Goggins.
Yeah.
He talks about the mirror of us Northern Irish can hardly say that word. The mirror of accountability that he used when going through, well, trying to go through Navy SEAL training.
Yeah.
He just post-it noted on
The mirror.
on the mirror, and every day we do the same thing of we go to that mirror and he'd shave head, everything, and he'd look himself in the mirror and he would give himself a fucking ball again every day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then that links into what you just said. You were telling people you're going to do something, never achieved it. Then the chimp was feeling guilty that they're now knowing that you haven't done it. That those all links into the book every time. It just
Yeah.
always finds its way. And you know what? I ain't telling no. That was an autopilot you did for the Gremlin. You went, I ain't going to tell no one jack shit anymore. I'm just going to do it, and then I'll not feel guilty if I don't do it in the time frame I told them. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
It might be.
certainly.
It might be for me as well because I don't tell anybody.
Yeah,
I'm kind of having like an easy way out as well to a certain extent
yeah.
that I'm letting myself. You know what? If I don't do it, but I think
Can I be honest?
yeah.
I tell people
You tell me.
because that that motivates me.
Yeah. No, I
You know what
understand
I
why.
mean?
Yeah. 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 Um, I understand. I understand that. Um, I don't know what it is. It's something I just have to prove to myself and nobody else, kind of thing. And I
Well,
you know,
I think that's a healthy thing in a way.
mm, mm,
You only need the approval of your own
uh,
um, uh, achievements. You
uh,
don't need anyone else's approval. That's a
uh,
good, healthy thing to do.
uh, well, I'm happy with that. um, like I think I've covered kind of like the main things. Like there's a lot more in that book. That book's a great book, and I really appreciate you kind of recommending it. The Chimp Paradox, the mind management program for confidence, success, and happiness. Loads of good wee pointers, and I think we've got scenarios in there where we can sort of help people relate to it as well. So is there any last things you want to say about it or touch on before we kind of sign off? Or
The book is, to me, a go-to. So, once you read it from start to finish, that isn't it done. So
oh
you'll
yeah,
always have to revert back to certain phases because it is so well written that you'll remember that chapter 9 is, whatever it is at the time. And you'll go and open it up again. So if you do um, read it in the mindset of, I will come back to this again at
make
some point.
notes and underline
Exactly.
and stuff. Yeah, I've
Yeah.
done that. Yeah.
I've actually got someone reading it at this moment in time, and uh, they I've been trying to push them to read it for months, and they finally broke and they started reading it. And I knew that the person was reading it because my phone was going beep 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 every hour, every 2 hours of posing a question based on something they read,
Mm-hmm.
but it was actually what they were doing was posing on something that they had experienced and relating to. And I went, "Are you starting to see yourself in this book?" And the person was like, "Yeah," and well, actually wish I'd read it sooner.
Yeah.
But I'm not. We're not in any way getting any commission out of this book as in
No, no,
regards to
no, no, no,
sales or
no.
anything like that. There, but it helped me. It probably enlightened you in some way.
Big time, big time.
Yep, great.
And even just recognizing how my minds work, and even though I may not be able to control a chump reaction at certain stages, I can think about it and realize that was my reaction, and then I could
Yeah,
say, right, okay, I'm sorry,
yeah,
that wasn't exactly how I felt or whatever. So it's, yeah, I can manage everything a little bit better and be more accountable to how I do actually react in
yeah.
certain things.
If I was to just say one phrase that would sum up the book,
Mm,
it it would be self-awareness.
yeah.
Self-awareness. That's the last point I'll make on it.
Mm-hmm.
Self-awareness.
Big time, and I would agree with that 100%. Um, buddy, I really appreciate you taking the time. It's now late at night. I didn't expect it to go on this long, but it has. It maybe an hour and a half or something. But I really appreciate your time and taking the time to. There'll be another book. We'll choose another book. We'll talk about that and the good and the bad.
Yeah.
And
No. Listen,
thanks
thanks
for,
for. No, thank you for inviting me on. Appreciate it.
yep, thanks for your perspective, my friend.
Yes, and yours too. And yours too.